So for the sisters, just go ahead and move up close. You get to be close to one another, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Good, how are you? I didn't know this is mini you. MashaAllah. She was at the talks today. Just waiting for her to confirm we can start, inshallah. We're just waiting for a few people to finish praying, and then inshallah we'll get started. Should I start? Yeah? Okay. I'm just waiting to make sure that you guys are okay. All right. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad abdika nabiyyaka rasulika nabiyil ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. I know this mic I have to keep holding here, so I'm just going to hold it here so you can hear me clearly. So I'm going to adjust my talk a bit. The talk was going to be for families and, really reflecting on bringing in awareness of what Ramadan is, but in a way that, inshallah, alhamdulillah, beautifies our homes. I'm going to adjust it a little bit. And my goal is, inshallah, to remind our hearts of what this month is and what this month isn't, and how to get the most out of it. So I do like to have interaction. I think especially we're a more smaller group, inshallah it will benefit from that. What usually increases in your home when Ramadan comes about? What actually, not what we hope would, but what actually increases in our home during Ramadan? Food. I appreciate your honesty, brother. Who else? Busyness, irritability. Anyone else? Pressure, right? Less sleep for sure, right? Alhamdulillah, that's a good thing, but how does it affect us, right? So often we hope, right? We get excited at the idea of Ramadan, but if we're honest with ourselves, and in order to enter this conversation, inshallah, to enter this month, what I hope that we will discuss and reflect on today is, what is the state of my heart approaching this month? Am I feeling pressure to perform? Because what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is obviously in the verses of Ramadan, which we'll get to shortly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling us to increase in our homes, not just pressure and passing of time, but actually transforming us. And so I want you to think about those of us that have young children, those of you that live with your families. I want you to think about what is 1 or 2 regrets you have from last Ramadan. When you think back to how you ended it, when you think back to, some of the things that were happening in the home, what are 1 or 2 regrets that you have? And the nice thing when we share, we realize that we're all human, and that alhamdulillah, none of us are angels and our homes are not above that. So what are 1 or 2 regrets you have from last Ramadan? Okay. So not being able to read as much Quran as I would have hoped for. Okay. Who else? What's a regret you have from last Ramadan? No regrets, mashallah? I love it. The sister said her regret is being so exhausted that she didn't actually get to enjoy the month. Can anyone relate to that? Where you felt this pressure of like, oh my God, I gotta go Isha and I gotta do Tarawih and we gotta do the iftar and the kids have to do this. And that we didn't even get to sit and savor the sweetness and allow ourselves to be present. And that's inshallah what I want us to come to. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give Ramadan and base it on quantity. Ramadan, we hear this often, right? It's about the quality. Obviously, taqwa is about presence of the heart. Did my heart remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And so as we're going through this month, inshallah, I want you to ask, what is the state of my heart? So when you think right now, Ramadan is inshallah 2 weeks away, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to live to see it. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Like, where does your mind immediately go? Like, okay, Ramadan, I have to do this. Ramadan, okay. Like, what's the first immediate thought that comes to you? Yes. Pardon? Breaking of the fast. Oh, iftar. Okay. We got to prepare for iftar. What's the routine? What's the schedule going to be? Yes. Yeah, I want to catch Laylatul Qadr. Beautiful. Okay. Who else? Yes. Or how am I going to manage the schedule? How am I going to do all of that? Yeah. Who else? For the students, I'm sure it's like, how am I going to, be awake in class? How am I going to study as I'm going through that? These are the first things that come to mind. And one of the best things you can do for your Ramadan is first to check the state of your heart. That, do I feel excited? Right? So I'm glad you're aware that, I'm feeling a little anxious about the schedule. I'm already feeling burnt out. Like, we don't want to get to the door of Ramadan and already be exhausted. And this is a trick of shaitan. So already check, what is the state of my heart when I think about that month? And alhamdulillah, this can already, inshallah, prepare you for a good and a blessed Ramadan. So what are some ways that we can, alhamdulillah, have a beautiful, beautiful understanding and conditioning, which means like the relationship when we think Ramadan. So the brother who said Laylatul Qadr, right? I want to be excited and inshallah have a good opinion, a husnul dhan that, ya Allah, I will get to be there in Laylatul Qadr. Right? I want to be, inshallah, one of your servants who's calling upon you in Laylatul Qadr. This is a beautiful way to start conditioning your heart and calm some of those nerves. So I know for the moms, you're going through the schedule, you can already say, Allah's going to put barakah in my time. I know Allah, you will make it easy for me. So already start having good opinions as you think of the month and you think of your schedule. There's the term called self-fulfilling prophecy. What this means in psychology is if you keep telling yourself, for example, you have an exam coming up and you keep telling yourself, oh my God, it's going to be so hard, I'm going to fail. It's so hard, I'm going to fail. The chances of you failing and struggling through it increase drastically just because of your belief. Subhanallah. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us this, right? I am as my servant thinks I am. So if you already start telling yourself, Allah is going to bless my Ramadan. Allah is going to make my Ramadan easy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to open doors of ease for me. Allah is going to put so much barakah in our home. I know my children are going to be amazing. This is really du'as that you're doing. As you're thinking about this, already you will start to feel the fruits of it. And I promise you, if I see you, inshallah, at Eid, you'll be like, Razia, I was doing that. Let me tell you what kind of Ramadan I had. This is the beautiful opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that can already position you in a place to receive blessings. But if I'm not in a position to receive blessings because I keep saying, oh my God, it's going to be so hard. I'm already going to be depleted. Oh my God, it's going to be winter and it's so late. I got to get up for work at 7. You're already positioning yourself to be disappointed. So right now, just take a moment and ask yourself, is my heart excited and anticipating Ramadan? And if not, what can I start doing? What are one or two things that I know I'm kind of approaching negatively that inshallah I want to change it. I want to shift it. Okay, so pick one or two things in your mind. What are, alhamdulillah, good opinions that I can start bringing that will already, and subhanallah, the psychology again, it calms your nervous system. You're already going to start to be a different person. You'll already start to experience transformation, inshallah. So in saying that, I want to share a story. And you might think this is a funny story, but I want you to see yourself in the story. So there's a man, and imagine you are this person. He gets a phone call, and they tell him, you have won $1 million, and you can come and get this $1 million. We just need you to drive to this destination and come get the $1 million. You guys are looking at me. No, imagine you're this person, $1 million. Like, you would be ecstatic. You'd be like, whatever I need to do, I will get that car. I will come. So, of course, he starts getting the car. He drives. He starts driving to the destination. A few hours in, his tire blows out. His tire blows out, and he gets out. But he's not too far from the destination, so he's like, oh. He starts complaining about the tire. He's like, what's the point of me calling someone? Let me just start walking. He starts to walk. He's like, oh, my God, it's so cold. It's so cold. My feet are starting to hurt. Oh, my God, the weather. It looks like there's a storm coming. Oh, it's like, look at the road. There's potholes. And he starts getting distracted and just losing focus on all these things. This is us. Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not even tell us the reward of this blessed month. He says it's between my servant and I, and inshallah He'll reveal it to us on the Day of Judgment. It is that special. And yet we get caught up in, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I've got the iftar to make. We got to make sure it's a 5-course meal. Oh my God, I have work. And that is, as ridiculous as that story sounds and feels, but subhanallah, that is us. We get caught up and distracted in Ramadan with all the trivial things that really carried no weight or bearance, and let it distract us from the ultimate reward. And so inshallah, what is the ultimate reward? What do we want out of this month? And of course, again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calling us in the verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, right? That, O you who believe, fasting has been written upon you as it was written for those before you, so that perhaps you may develop taqwa. Allah, out of His rahmah, did not quantify what you are supposed to do in this month. Aside from fasting, nothing else is quantified. And so any part of us that feels like, if I didn't do this much quantity, if I didn't do this much taraweeh, if I didn't do this much khatam, if I didn't feed this many people, if I didn't host this many iftars, we feel, like the sister honestly shared, we go through Ramadan exhausted, but never feeling the actual sweetness of taqwa that we want. And so this is a trick of shaitan that he will plant the seeds of right now. That you need to do this X amount and this X amount. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not in this verse say Ramadan is for the disciplined. Ramadan is for the one who does the khatams. Ramadan is for the one who prays tahajjud every single night. No, He did not say that, so don't insert it. We fill in the blanks in places that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not call us to. And so if the only thing increasing in our home is irritability, pressure, anxiety of, and this is something I have young kids, so I'm very conscious of, not constantly be like, come on, we gotta go, hurry, we gotta get out of here. I'm like, I don't want my children, for the memories for them to have around Ramadan and around our home, to be this, that we were just constantly rushing. I want them to, and this is a question I want you to ask yourself, what do I want my families to remember and experience about Ramadan through me? Do I want them to say, man, Baba had so much more sabr when it would be Ramadan. I remember that, he would just smile more and he would be helping. Or I remember mom, like she would just, alhamdulillah, like make the simple meals, but like we got to spend time as a family before we'd go for Isha. Like, what do you want your kids to remember? Because they're not going to remember how many rakas you prayed. They're not going to remember, oh, we did this many khatams. They're going to remember your character. That's the reality. That's the taqwa and the manifestation and the fruits of it. I know for myself, when I think of like as a child, what I remember mostly about Ramadan, it was my mom used to play nasheeds when she'd make iftar. And so she would have like the tape recorder going. And I remember she would just be like, she was smiling while she was cooking. I would help her. And it just felt like such a beautiful, alhamdulillah, memory. and something that I associate with Ramadan, like this, beauty of dhikr that was happening in the home through the nasheeds, and my mom, like, with a smile making it. There was no yelling, like, just by outside Ramadan, things would be rushed. In Ramadan, it was this, like, joyfulness of, like, we were getting to serve the family. And I know that's definitely something I want to pass on to my children, in addition to other things. I don't want it to be, oh my God, mom's fasting, she was short-fused with us, right? Or when Papa's fasting. And unfortunately, obviously, because I work with families, I hear this from certain children. Certain families have said, like, we are afraid when it's Ramadan because, like, one of the parents is so short-tempered. And that, like, until Papa gets iftar, like, no one goes in front of it. And I'm like, how, like, may Allah protect us, right? Like, what a sad reality. So ask yourself, what would you like your family to experience more of from you during this Ramadan? And I want to open the floor. What do you want your children to say, inshallah, one day? Or hopefully at the end of this Ramadan? I feel like the kids should answer for their parents. What would you love to see from your parents this Ramadan? I know we have a teen. I want to pick on him. What would you love to see from your dad more this Ramadan? He's like, quality time with my dad. Inshallah. Yeah, Case? What do you want to see more from your mom? A smile? Okay. That's my son, so I'm going to smile more this Ramadan, inshallah. Who else? What would you love for your children to experience of you this Ramadan? Yeah. Yeah. The tranquility. Like, you can be doing, your plate can be full, but you can do it from a place of peace versus from a place of anxiety and being rushed. Yeah, absolutely. Brothers, anything that you would like for your kids to experience when they think back 10 years from now, inshallah, that you want them to say, this is what I loved about seeing my mom or dad in Ramadan? Discipline? That's beautiful. And that was the Prophet, right? His family said he would be with us, and then the time for Salah came, and it was like he didn't know us. That was discipline. Like, he could be present with his family, enjoy time with them, but when it was Salah time, it was Salah time. Yeah, no matter what. It was cold, it was minus 30, and Dad would get out and clean the car and go for Isha, mashallah. He never missed Isha. Yeah, that's beautiful. Alhamdulillah. And doing it with that sincerity and smile. So far, just to recap, check the state of your heart. How am I thinking about Ramadan? If there's anything that feels limiting or negative or will already set me back, I need to change it. I need to have a good opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already, and inshallah, positively be excited to receive. So Ramadan is a gift. And we're always reminded that how many were with us last year that are not with us this year. What they would do for just one more Ramadan. And alhamdulillah, we are here. And so for us to receive this gift, inshallah, with a smile, with alhamdulillah, humility from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Rab, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, that we are able to receive it. So inshallah, that positive conditioning. And then secondly, to ask yourself, what is, how is that taqwa going to come through my actions and in the actual experience of my family? How will I be transformed in this month? How will the taqwa show up? Is it going to be, I'm more peaceful, I'm going to be disciplined, I will smile more, I will be in more service of my family? And then now I want to just break up the verse of Surah Al-Baqarah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us about Ramadan, because inshallah this is going to help us sweeten it even more. So right off the bat, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses us, Allah does not begin, like I said, with saying, "Oh, you who are disciplined. Oh, you who are strong. Oh, you who have time and energy." No, this verse says, "Oh, you who believe," that the only qualifier, right? How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala qualifies you for Ramadan is that you believe. And so alhamdulillah, this month of Rahmah, this month of Quran is for all of us, no matter where our starting point is, no matter what your struggle is, that alhamdulillah, He begins with Iman, and Allah is not addressing our productivity. One of the, subhanAllah, downfalls that we struggle with is because we're part of a capitalistic society where we are so hyper-focused on production and output and output and output that we constantly feel like we're never doing enough. Does anyone ever feel like they will be able to do enough in Ramadan? No. You could do a khatam every single day of Ramadan. You could get up for tahajjud every night of Ramadan. It will never be enough. And we have to find peace with that. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not quantifying and that there will never be enough. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just says, you already belong to Him. You are His servant. You are His believer. And alhamdulillah, that is, when I accept that, then I know that this mercy of His is not going to be based on how much I do. And yes, we strive, but we don't strive because I'm trying to do enough. I strive out of the pleasure of Allah. Do you see the difference? It's not this pressure of, oh my God, if I do this many rakahs, now I've made it. No, it's just from a place of alhamdulillah, submission to Allah. The Prophet ﷺ, when he stood for tahajjud or in Ramadan, like it wasn't obsession with how many rakahs I did. Like, we know that he would stand for certain rakahs and like do 3 juz of Quran. Why? It was just flowing from him. And I know we all have probably experienced that with someone we love, right? You meet a dear friend you haven't seen for so long, and you'll be at Jabal talking for a few hours, right, Sarah? Like you talk a few hours, like, oh my God, where did the time go? Because you're enjoying the flow. That's how we want, inshallah, Ramadan to be. That I just enjoy making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want it to come. I'm not like, oh my God, I did 2 hours. Oh, I did an hour. Now this is enough. So release this measure that Allah never put. You want the taqwa filter. The taqwa filter is my heart present. Was my heart present in this 1 rakah? If it was, that will be heavier, inshallah, in my scale than doing 20 that I kept, ruminating other things over. Then the verse continues, and fasting has been written upon you. What's important to understand here is that this isn't something random that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed. Ramadan isn't just something that, came about in 2026. This isn't something that's like a life hack and this is going to help you. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote this for all of humanity, and the wording is really important as well, that, in the next part comes prescription, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even the Prophet ﷺ, the companions, the best of generation, Allah gave them Ramadan because this is a means of, alhamdulillah, coming closer to Him. This is the means of taqwa. So this is not a punishment for the weak. This isn't just something that now us as an ummah of where we're at in history that we need it. No, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intentionally put this because it restores within us something deeper. That alhamdulillah, this is something that is a beautiful, powerful month and blessed month and practice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent for all of humanity, for all of time, from the Prophet ﷺ. Now this next part is really important. Does anyone have the habit of going to a doctor when you go sometimes for a test and you're like, it's okay, I already Googled it. I know that because I have this symptom and this symptom, I have lung cancer. I already know that. But I'm just here to get the prescription. Anyone? I have a friend who does this. She always, diagnosing herself. No, and if you ask a doctor, they hate patients like this. People who come and they're like, don't worry, I know my symptoms, just give me the prescription. We have to come to this month with the humility that we are all sick in some way. I need Ramadan because Allah has prescribed it. The word that Allah specifically is using, prescription. He has prescribed it because there is a weakness. There is some ailment. But only I know what that is. Everyone here, only you know where you are struggling, where your iman is weak, where your taqwa is weak, where your discipline is weak, where your relationship with Allah is weak. And Allah has prescribed this month that alhamdulillah for all of us, whatever illness is it, it's there. But come with it with the humility. But also know some of your symptoms. Know, subhanAllah, you won't get much out of this month if you're like, I'm good. I'm going to do the rituals, but alhamdulillah, I'm fine. No, know where you're struggling. Have the humility to know that I'm weak in this part. I know that, I'm not very patient. You know what? I know I rush certain things here. So have the humility to know so that you can get the most out of this prescription, inshallah. And then, obviously the final part, so that perhaps you may develop taqwa. And of course, a refresh for all of us. What is taqwa? What does it truly mean? And so taqwa is to protect. So Allah has prescribed this month to protect you from what? From your own self, from the desires, from the rat race of life that we fall into, all of these aspects that can pull us away from what the ultimate purpose is. The second, taqwa means to shield, right? Like imagine armor, right? Alhamdulillah, we're all going through something. May Allah make it easy for us, right? We're all carrying some kind of tests. And so taqwa becomes a shield because this presence, consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly becomes a shield to remind you are not of this dunya. That this dunya is not it. Alhamdulillah, the constant reminder of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts everything in its perspective. For anyone here who, gets to attend a janazah, do you ever find when you're going through life's heaviness and you go to a janazah and all of a sudden everything falls into place? You could have just lost your job. You've got bills to pay and they're piling up, you're in debt. And you go to a janazah prayer and all of a sudden you're like, you know what, like it's dunya, Allah will take care of it. Right? So this is taqwa. It creates that shield for you, inshallah, in this month. And then the third definition of taqwa is that puts a barrier between yourself and harm. That alhamdulillah, it creates more distance between you and anything that can harm you. Does anyone know what the word shaitan actually means? What does shaitan mean? Anyone? Yes, case? Pardon? So shaitan is shaitan, he's the devil, but the actual word shaitan means to be distant. That shaitan is one that is distant from Allah, distant from the commands of Allah. And so taqwa creates, alhamdulillah, distance from harm, because what shaitan tries to do is to create distance between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so alhamdulillah, the more that inshallah we get to strengthen our taqwa, we get to replenish our taqwa in this blessed month, we become distant from him. And not the other way around. And so if you're, at a place right now in your life where you feel a bit distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to remind ourselves that one of Allah's attributes is Al-Qarib. He is close, and he's closer to us than our jugular vein. And so if I feel distance, it's not because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has moved, it's because I have moved. And because shaitan has tried to create that distance between me and him. And so taqwa is not fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Taqwa is creating protection. Alhamdulillah, and the Prophet ﷺ said, it's taqwa is something that if it was on the skin, it would like protect you from the hellfire. Like it's, that consciousness, that every step that I take, I'm aware that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists, that he is watching me, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects the soul. So Ramadan is not about breaking us. It is not about pressuring ourselves to perform at some invisible standard that we have made. It's not about being perfect, because perfection only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's about, inshallah, returning to Allah faster, being more sensitive, right, inshallah, to aspects that take us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and having, of course, the most important, stronger attachment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the final thing that, inshallah, I want to share, and then we'll do a little bit of discussion as well. Does anyone know when this verse of Ramadan was revealed? Because context is so important. Whenever the Sahaba taught their children Quran, they taught it alongside Seerah. So they would be teaching Quran and they would be learning the Prophet's life, and they would be teaching, this is when this verse came, this is when this surah came, because you can't separate it. This is something we unfortunately have lost and don't prioritize. When your child understands when Surah Doha came down, they're going to memorize it completely differently. There'll be a love and appreciation. You know what? The Prophet was so sad, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent him Surah Doha to uplift him, and he sent Surah Doha to give him strength when they were making fun of him, when he was being bullied. Like, imagine now your child's understanding of Surah Doha completely changes. Oh wow, this was a comfort, this was a strength, this was a tool, so powerful. So when did this verse of Surah Al-Baqarah, anyone? Of Ramadan, when it came down? No? Pick on my husband too. Okay, so this ayah actually came down after years of when the Muslims were being persecuted. So they've gone through like physical torture. They were obviously exhausted, right, in those Meccan years. And also the community was not strong. Like they didn't know where the attacks were going to come from. And they were just starting to forming, some kind of structure in their community. So Ramadan wasn't revealed to people who were resting. Ramadan wasn't revealed to people who are like, oh, alhamdulillah, now things are good. No, Ramadan was revealed to people who were believers. And they were in the storm. Yes? So there's difference of opinions, because when Ramadan actually started, it was in the Meccan, the end of Mecca. So it was when persecution had started. It wasn't like the early stages, like they've been going through it for a while. And subhanAllah, sometimes we read these verses and some part of us thinks like, oh, I should be, I shouldn't be focusing on anything else, or like, if I'm going through tests, I should just shove that aside. They were in it. They were going through it. They were exhausted. They were emotionally, subhanAllah, like I said, so much instability. And yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving them this and introducing this to them. Why? To strengthen them. That this isn't going to weaken you. Ramadan and the practice of Ramadan and all the blessings of it, it's not going to weaken you. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows you are struggling right now, and this is actually going to strengthen you. Goes back to, how do I perceive this gift? Do I see, oh my God, this is going to be one more added stress and pressure I have to deal with? Or do I see it as, wow, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent it to the believers at that time, because this was actually going to make things, inshallah, easier for them because of the taqwa they would gain. So imagine what it would do for me. So context is so incredible. It just completely shifts, subhanAllah, the reality of that. And, the final kind of thing that I wanted us to sit with and ask of, it's actually, there's the hadith, and I'm going to rephrase, paraphrase it, because it's not, I don't have a word for word from the top of my head, but there's the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, one of the companions came to him and he said, I had a dream, and I had a dream of these two men, and they had lived similar lives, and one man had, when he went to his mizan, to his scale was heavier. And, he was given Jannah, and this other man wasn't. He's like, I couldn't understand what that was. And the Prophet ﷺ, again, I don't know if this is like a sahih hadith or if it's a weaker one, but the spirit of it is still there for us to benefit from. And he said the only difference between the two men was that one lived a year longer and had one extra Ramadan. That the difference sometimes between Jannah, and again, we only go to Jannah from Allah's mercy. So this isn't that, he did more quantity, right? But it's that maybe through that one Ramadan, his closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, perhaps changed how he lived the whole entire year. So Ramadan, of course, is not about just the month. Right? The month is about, inshallah, making our taqwa muscles so much stronger that it carries me all year round. That it transforms how I see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how I see myself, how I interact, the best of character to bring in. And so I want you to ask yourself, if this was my last Ramadan, if this is it, if I'm not here next year, right, how would I like to, inshallah, interact with this month? What is a hope that I pray that the angel writes here? Not my quantity, but who I called, who I interacted with, who I served, especially when it comes to restoring our family bonds. If there's a family that you've broken ties with, that you haven't called, that you haven't connected with, inshallah, before Ramadan starts, this is the invitation, send them a message, right? Release whatever it is in your heart. This is an opportunity to do that. Whatever, inshallah, go in with a good selfish plan of what this month will look like in our household. And so the few people that are here to truly benefit from this gathering, if you could get in groups of 3 and share with each other what is, inshallah, one thing that you would like to bring into your home this Ramadan and do more of. So not just we're going to recite Quran. How will that Quran affect the energy, the culture of your home? So I want to read one verse after Fajr as a family, and inshallah I want us to try to implement that. That could be one thing, right? So don't just say, we'll pray more. No, how will praying more affect your family? How will that show and bring out the beauty of that? So in groups of 3, share that with each other, inshallah, and then we'll end off there. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu la ilaha illa ant, wastaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. And spread the salams, because that's why we're here in the masjid. So go ahead, introduce yourself, and then share with each other.
hang on. Oh, hold it for me. Oh, hold it for me. Hold it for me.
Do you want to ask Molly if you want your mom and dad to take it?
Yeah.